Chapter 14:11. I already know who you are. Before Abyss Builders, seeking death was not something their targets had in their own hands, because among the innate talents of the Abyss Builders, one was to reverse time. Su Ming used it right then. At the moment the scholar wanted to self-destruct while holding himself nobly and arrogantly, Su Ming lifted his right hand and tapped the center of the scholar's brow lightly. With it, the time on the scholar instantly reversed, and the signs of explosion in his body disappeared without a trace. His expression changed swiftly. That change was not voluntary, but had appeared when time reversed. In the man's heart, a monstrous storm rose up, and unprecedented terror as well as shock filled him. In ancient Zong, arts to reverse time like that had never appeared before. Su Ming straightened his palm and patted the middle-aged scholar's forehead. A huge wave of power instantly surged into the scholar's body. Once it sealed his movements, Su Ming grabbed the person's hair, lifted him up, and left the world of ice and snow. Beneath him, the pavilion instantly turned into ice. Su Ming returned to Seven Moons Sect sky. With the middle-aged scholar in hand, he charged to the 5th layer of sky beyond the sky. In the 7th layer of sky beyond the sky, the white-robed teenager moved his gaze away from Su Ming and spoke flatly. Don't you think you're going rather overboard? You can kill our people from one Dao sect. This is our bet, but capturing them alive is going overboard. That is his prize for victory. Jiu Tai smiled faintly. He cast a glance at the white-robed teenager, then, after a period of contemplation, he shook his head. All right, since Great Dao Paragon Sen Mu asked, I promise you that the man will not live for more than a month. There is no running away from this battle between One Dao Sect and Seven Moons Sect anymore. You will have to make preparations for war now, the white-robed teenager said faintly and wrapped his fist in his palm towards Jiu Tai. He turned around and stepped into the air to instantly leave Seven Moons Sect. When he reappeared in the world outside, a freezing glare and killing intent were in his eyes. The battle between One Dao Sect and Seven Moons Sect was just a brief scuffle. One Dao Sect had lost, but the damage to it was insignificant. When the white-robed teenager left, the blizzard beyond Seven Moons Sect gradually disappeared. Only the nearly 100,000 ice statues on the ground served as testimony to the devastating battle. The Seven Moons disciples did not let out any cheers. Instead, they began cleaning up the battlefield and searching for the corpses of their sect members. Once they made offerings for all of them, another team of people specially put together began carving runes on the ice statues. One Dao sect disciples in the ice statues looked like they were still alive. Their bodies and the ice statues they turned into were the best materials to create ice puppets. What concerned the disciples from the 4th layer of sky beyond the sky, most of them patrolled the periphery of the sect in search of anyone who might have escaped. They also made sure the defenses of their sect were tight to prevent One Dao Sect from suddenly invading them again. All of Seven Moons Sect began organizing themselves in perfect order. When Dao Han returned to the 7th layer of sky beyond the sky, the 13 great sect elders held a secret meeting. As for Su Ming, he sat in the 5th layer of sky beyond the sky, right outside his house. Placed before him was a huge kill, which was the former chief attendant of the outer sect. Right then, he no longer had a physical body, and only a fragment of his soul remained. He was continuously letting out faint and shrill screams of pain. Besides the kill, there was the scholar Su Ming had captured alive. At that moment, the scholar's eyes were closed, as if he was deep asleep or unconscious. While the cultivators in all layers of Seven Moons Sect were busy with their own tasks, Su Ming stared at the middle-aged scholar, and a hint of hesitation appeared on his face. After a long while, a glint shone in his eyes, and determination filled his gaze. I do indeed have to check. Just who wants to kill me? Once Su Ming made his decision, he no longer hesitated. At the instant he closed his eyes, he lifted his left hand and pushed down on his chest, and the center of his brow cracked open. When his third eye appeared, 3 Dao divinities were revealed within. However, the third Dao divinity was rather indistinct, as if it had not yet gained full corporeal form, but they all opened their eyes at that moment. A brilliant light shone in them, and Su Ming lifted his right hand, pointing at the spot between the middle-aged scholar's brow. At the instant his finger touched his forehead, the scholar's body lurched. It instantly flew open, and a dazed look appeared on his face. His pupils spread out, as if they wanted to replace the white in his eyes. During that instant, the scholar felt as if a sharp blade had pierced his consciousness. When it swept past his mind, all his barriers instantly disappeared, and Su Ming could see all his memories at will. If it was a simple search through his memories, Su Ming would not hesitate nor activate his power of the third level of Tao Divinity Realm. What he wanted to do was not just search through the scholar's memories, but with the time reversal art, to use the scholar's memories and his body as a lead to form a connection with all of the people and objects in his own memories so that he could form a tunnel. Not only would he use the scholar's mind to have a look at who the so-called eldest prince was, but he would also see just how great was that person's power. That was the reason why Su Ming wanted to enter the world within the right eye of the statue's outline but had not immediately killed the scholar. When the scholar trembled and a dazed look appeared on his face, Su Ming shook violently as well. A vortex appeared at the spot where his finger touched the center of the middle-aged man's brow. That vortex was like a tunnel. When Su Ming's consciousness was pulled in, a loud rumble immediately rang out in his mind. Amid the noise, he felt like a lone ship drifting in a raging sea that was the scholar's memories. Time was an unknown entity in there, but at some point, Su Ming's mind jolted. "Wu Kuan, what's wrong?" A hesitant voice spoke by his ears. When Su Ming opened his eyes, he saw a person looking at him. It was the scholar in the second level of Tao Divinity Realm who he had killed in the pavilion. They seemed to be in a volcano that was about to erupt. Su Ming was sitting in the depths, right at the edge of magma. Waves of hot air crashed into his face, and smoke tumbled out from the magma, charging upwards. When he lifted his head to look, he found that there was no exit to the volcano. It seemed like a normal mountain. However, there were numerous cracks on it. If anyone looked at the mountain from the outside, they would definitely find that it was a strange mountain covered in cracks, and red light shone from each of them. A glint appeared in Su Ming's eyes. When he lowered his head, he saw himself dressed in a scholar's long robe. He even held a fan in his hand. At that moment, he was the person he captured and whose memories he had fused with after occupying their mind and body with the time reversal art. "It's nothing," Su Ming smiled faintly while speaking to the scholar in the second level of Tao Divinity Realm beside him. "Oh well. The eldest prince should be egressing soon. Every single day, he walks out of the flame swamp around this time. Tell him your plan then. If the eldest prince agrees with it, we will bring it to the sect and let them make the final decision." When the scholar beside Su Ming said those words, the magma in the volcano suddenly began tumbling violently. Booming sounds echoed in the air, and magma surged up as if it had imploded. From within the magma, a figure flew out. Magma fell from the air like rain while a person landed on a huge stone. His back was turned to Su Ming, and between them was the falling magma rain. "Greetings, Your Highness." The scholar next to Su Ming immediately wrapped his fist in his palm and bowed to the figure respectfully. He was surprised when Su Ming did not do the same. At that moment, when the magma rain completely fell, the figure with its back facing Su Ming slowly turned around to reveal a handsome face. It belonged to a young man in white robes. At the instant the young man turned around and looked at Su Ming, he frowned slightly. When Su Ming saw him clearly, a loud bang shot up in his head. At first glance, the so-called eldest prince appeared rather familiar, and once Su Ming observed him closely, he quickly remembered that he was rather similar to Old Man Extermination. In fact, it could be said he was Extermination when he was young. Su Ming even sensed a hint of Lei Chen's presence. "Wu Kuan, how dare you not greet His Highness?" When the scholar next to Su Ming saw that there was something off about Su Ming, he quickly spoke and wrapped his fist in his palm towards the eldest prince. "Eldest prince, please forgive him. Since Wu Kuan has been strategizing lately, he is rather absent-minded. It's fine. I'm not a person who cares much about the rules anyway. Wu Kuan, how are the plans?" The eldest prince smiled faintly and looked at Su Ming. Su Ming smiled. He stared at the eldest prince, at the much younger Extermination, and remembered the words that Old Man Extermination had said when he lost against Su Ming and was absorbed by Xianxia. "Is it about to start?" Su Ming smiled and lifted his right foot. With a step forward, he instantly leapt over the magma and charged towards the eldest prince. The moment he moved, the eldest prince narrowed his eyes and brought up his right hand without any hesitation, then threw it upwards. With a bang, the lava instantly imploded and formed an indescribable heat wave that went charging towards Su Ming. An astonishing bang rang out from it. Su Ming lifted his right hand. With a swing of his arm, a chilling wind swept past him. At the instant it touched the magma and booming sound shot up. The magma froze and turned into mountain rock. "You're not Wu Kuan. Who are you?" A surprised glint appeared in the eldest prince's eyes. While he spoke, a grim look instantly appeared on his face. "I know who you are." Su Ming did not continue onward, but instead began moving backwards. The sparkle in his eyes disappeared, and the whole world before his eyes shattered to pieces at that moment. When he opened his eyes again, they sparkled brilliantly. Before him was Wu Kuan, who had already died. Blood had poured out from his eyes, nose, ears, and mouth while he was seated on the mountain of the 5th layer of sky beyond the sky in Seven Moons Sect. The moment Su Ming's consciousness returned to his body, a jade slip shot through the air from the 7th layer of sky beyond the sky and appeared directly in front of Su Ming. Light shone from within the jade slip, and an old voice came from inside it. "Third Prince, I'm Gu Tai. Please come to the 7th layer of sky beyond the sky. We would like to meet you." Chapter 14:12, Reversed Spirit Pearl. Su Ming lifted his head and cast his gaze on the jade slip. A contemplative look appeared on his face. After some time, he stood up and swung his arm. The physical body of the dead middle-aged scholar shattered into pieces and turned into ash. The strongest person in Seven Moons Sect, the great sect elder of the first line. Gu Tai, who is also known as the sect master. Su Ming was not unfamiliar with that person. After all, he had been in Seven Moons Sect for about 50 years, and when he first woke up in the New World, the man who resembled Xianxia had given him pointers along their travels. Because of that, Su Ming had quite some knowledge regarding ancient Zong. He's the person who reminded me that if I want to fuse with the Seven Lives art, I would have to break to succeed. Su Ming's eyes sparkled. The pensive look in his eyes disappeared, and when his gaze returned to normal, he lifted his right hand and picked up the jade slip before taking a step into the air. With it, the jade slip in his hand exuded a dazzling light that turned into a vortex. It submerged Su Ming, taking him away from the 5th layer of sky beyond the sky. At that moment, in the 7th layer of sky beyond the sky, the 13 great sect elders, including Dao Han, sat at the center of a towering altar located right at the first piece of land in the world. Right then, a vortex appeared out of nowhere at the center of the altar. When it disappeared and the 13 people looked over, Su Ming gradually appeared. "Greetings, great sect elders." Su Ming swept his gaze across the area, then wrapped his fist in his palm and bowed. While he did not quite feel as if he belonged to the sect and had joined it with a goal in mind, the sect had defended him while facing the threat of one Dao sect. Such an action moved Su Ming. It was the reason why he had bowed to them right then. The 13 great sect elders all cast their gazes on Su Ming. Most of them were seeing him for the first time. The middle-aged man in the sky blue daoist robe, Su Ming's master in Seven Moons Sect, smiled. "My dear disciple, don't be so reserved. We've known of your status since the start, and it's precisely because of it that I was in such a hurry in the past to become your master. I do hope that you will not blame me for this." When Su Ming heard it, his expression remained calm, but he was surprised that this master of his would admit the matter just like that. His action won him respect from Su Ming. "Third Prince, please sit down," Gu Tai said. A smile was on his lips, and there was praise on his face. When he offered to sit, Su Ming did not reject and sat down cross-legged. "Third Prince, with the blood of the royal family coursing through your veins, your level of cultivation, and your intellect, you must have surely found clues from our levels of cultivation. Over here, aside from Dao Han, who only became a great sect elder later on and is in the 3rd level of Dao Spirit Realm, there are 8 of us who are in the 7th level of Dao Immortal Realm, and the other 4 are in the 5th or 6th level of Dao Spirit Realm. We are the pillars of Seven Moons Sect. With us around, Seven Moons Sect will continue to exist. If we die, then Seven Moons Sect will cease to exist," Gu Tai said flatly. Su Ming did not speak. He simply sat there and listened calmly. "Don't hold a grudge against Xu Zhongfan. He was in a little too much of a hurry to become your master, because only by doing so could he form a connection with your life matrix and have a chance to become a great Tao paragon. But you should know that he needed determination for such a gamble. It was absolutely necessary at the moment he said he would become your master. From then on, your survival was destined to become the thing he would care about the most. Your success and failure will be a challenge he cannot avoid. If you fail, then he will have to give up his cultivation base, his remaining years of life, as well as his destiny. The stakes of this gamble are so great that I hope you won't come to understand the full extent of it. In fact, would you believe me if I said that if I attacked you right now, your master would grit his teeth and turn against me? No matter what, he would save you, because he has already formed a connection he cannot sever with your life matrix. Yu Tai explained slowly before casting a deep glance at Su Ming. It's also because of this that I made my decision to bring Seven Moons sect into the battle of the successors. We will help you with our full strength. Because, be it Xu Zhongfan or the other 11 great sect elders, in truth, they are all my disciples. Su Ming's expression changed at that moment. It was something he had not known. Once they completed their Tao, I asked them to stop calling me master. One of my disciples formed a connection with your life matrix, and as his master, I was also dragged along. That is why from now on, Seven Moons sect, the 13 of us, and the tens of thousands of disciples in the sect will help you with everything we have. Yu Tai's voice echoed in the air, causing Su Ming to fall into silence. He turned his head and cast a glance at his master. At that moment, there was a slightly regretful look on Xu Zhongfang's face, but Su Ming could not tell whether Xu Zhongfan was feeling guilty towards Su Ming or his own master. In the end, Su Ming cast his gaze at Yu Tai. What do I need to do? He asked calmly. His tone was no longer one he would use as a disciple of Seven Moons sect, but as an equal to the people around him. The eldest prince has one Tao sect helping him, and it is so strong that it stands atop the 7 sects. The second prince has a Jura clan. It is an external clan, and its strength is unfathomable. In fact, in some sense, it even surpasses one Tao sect. A Jura clan has one of the 3 9th-level Tao gods in ancient Zong, Xianxia Luo. When Yu Tai said those words, the expressions of the 12 great sect elders changed. Clearly, it was the first time they heard of this matter. But senior Xianxia Luo has been in isolated training for a long time. Unless a Jura clan runs into something that threatens their existence, he will not egress, and neither will he join the battle of the successors. Because if he joins, the first person he will have to face is your father, who is also the emperor of ancient Zong and one of the 3 9th-level Tao gods. One Tao sect and a Jura clan. These are the 2 great enemies you will have to face now, because these 2 sects' kismet is already the same as that of Seven Moons sect. They already have a connection they cannot sever with one of the 3 princes. The other sects and clans will gradually gather to the 3 of us in the subsequent years, and our 3 sects and clans will become the core. 3,000 years later, a great war to determine the successor will erupt. But the prerequisite is that you will not die before the war arrives. This is something you must remember. If you die, then Seven Moons sect will be eliminated from the battle of the successors. This is the first thing. The second thing is that while you are in Tao spirit realm, you have not stabilized your cultivation base. You will need to sound the Tao spirit voice that belongs to you. This is a major event. Seven Moons sect will make detailed preparations so that all the sects and clans in ancient Zong will bear witness when you sound your Tao spirit voice. Then, we will also help you build your influence. Third, you are still not strong enough. In terms of level of cultivation, we cannot help you by much, but the phala of Tao verification that appears once every 10,000 eons is about to ripen, and there will be a competition in all of ancient Zong for it. Phala of Tao verification only bloom once every 5,000 eons, and after the flower blooms, 5,000 eons later, it will bear fruit. Each time, it only bears 2 fruit, and one of them is big while the other small. The big one can be refined into a supreme treasure which can contain all manner of beings in the world. It is an enigmatic and amazing existence. The small fruit is the most precious, however. Once you swallow it and enter isolated training for 3 months, you will be able to make your level of cultivation increase from 1 to 3 levels of Tao divinity realm, but you must be in Tao spirit realm when you swallow it. Once it takes effect, you will reach a level anywhere below Tao paragon. We have records saying that it will be the 8th time the Phala grows fruit. 4th, you are lacking in enchanted treasures. The treasures in 7 Moons sect no longer suit you, however. Sect Elder Lan Lan might have summoned Guru Xianxia by herself, but it is also in accordance to our wishes. Judging by the looks of it, you should have gained some clues. We will utilize all our strength to find that whip that can affect planets. 5th, once you finish doing all these things, you must move to the top. Once you eventually become the Emperor, 7 Moons sect will reach the peak, and since the 13 of us have your kismet on us, we can also become great Tao paragons, and I will have hoped to become a 9th level Tao god. Jiu Tai said while looking at Su Ming. Since ancient times, did all great Tao paragons reach that realm by doing what you did? Su Ming asked after a moment of silence. No. This is a shortcut, or else why would one Tao sect and Azura clan be so enthusiastic about this matter? Jiu Tai answered calmly, I can do all the other things, but there is an enchanted treasure I need in 7 Moons sect, Su Ming suddenly said. A smile appeared at the corners of Jiu Tai's lips after he spoke. Tell us. I knew that you must have set your eyes on something for choosing to enter 7 Moons sect under a disguise. I want the pearl in his hand. Su Ming did not hesitate, and neither did he continue to hide. As he spoke, he looked at Dao Han. At the instant Su Ming spoke, a light crease appeared between Dao Han's eyebrows. This isn't a pearl, this is. Jiu Tai fell silent for a while. Clearly, he had not expected that Su Ming would want that item. When he lifted his right hand, Dao Han unfurled his fist. Immediately, the pearl that had always been on his palm flew out and charged towards Jiu Tai, who caught it. This is a Phala. The Phala I told you just now comes in 2 sizes. One of them is big, and the other small. When I was at the peak of my form, during a battle for the Phala of Tao verification, I snatched this Phala after having a close brush with death. This item is known as a reversed spirit pearl, and I refined it into a supreme treasure, a legacy used to protect 7 Moons sect. Jiu Tai whispered, as if he was thinking about something. I don't need to be in possession of this item for long. I just need to borrow it and use it once, Su Ming said while looking at the pearl in Jiu Tai's hand. Oh. Jiu Tai lifted his head and cast a glance at Su Ming before he smiled. He swung his right hand, and the pearl charged to Su Ming. If 7 Moons sect can stake our kismet on you, then why should we hesitate on giving you an external object? Su Ming lifted his hand and took the pearl. At the instant he touched it with his hand, a powerful light erupted from the pearl. It alternated in degrees of brightness as if there were roars coming out of it. They were filled with cheers as well as a call that caused Su Ming's heart to tremble. Chapter 14:13. Please call me Su Ming. When the roars appeared and the pearl shone, the 13 great sect elders around Su Ming instantly focused on the pearl. Even Jiu Tai narrowed his eyes slightly. Clearly, he had not expected that this sort of change would happen when the pearl entered Su Ming's hands. After all, he had personally acquired the pearl, and it had never showed this sort of reaction before. Su Ming's expression was calm. He did not show any happiness or anger. Once he held the pearl in his right hand, his divine sense surged inside it. He could immediately sense the soul of the illusory harmonious Morus Alba in the universe within the pearl. He also sensed that the soul of the harmonious Morus Alba seemed to have lost sentience. At that moment, it was only a vessel spirit. But Su Ming did not care about it. What he cared about were his wills from the 4 great true worlds. The moment he sensed the soul of harmonious Morus Alba, he felt as if he had touched his own will. Immediately after, the 4 wills belonging to Su Ming instantly charged towards his divine sense and fused with it. Once they came into contact, the first will Su Ming sensed was true Morning Tao World's will. It had always belonged to Su Ming. Once it fused with his divine sense, a presence that had distinct differences from cultivation bases erupted from Su Ming, and it was enough to make the expressions of the 13 great sect elders change. The presence had no form, but it caused Su Ming's long hair to dance, his robes to flutter, and Jiu Tai's expression to become much more solemn. This is, Jiu Tai focused his attention on Su Ming. He had a vague feeling that the invisible force surrounding Su Ming seemed rather familiar. As for the others, they could only sense the invisible power. They had never heard of it before, but they could sense that it seemed to contain a powerful force, which caused their hearts to tremble. The next moment, the power of Su Ming's will increased again. Soundless roars shot up. No one could hear them, but Su Ming felt as if there was thunder roaring in his heart. Amid its rumbles, he sensed true immortal sect world's will. The two great wills fused together, causing the invisible presence to become thicker, and the great sect elders around Su Ming paid even more attention to him. As Su Ming's will grew stronger, the faint feeling of danger he brought made their expressions change. This is. Jiu Tai's expression suddenly changed drastically. Shock even appeared in his eyes at that moment, which was an expression that had been absent from his face for many years. Even when Sen Mu had come, Jiu Tai had not behaved in this manner. Jiu Tai even stood up swiftly, with incredulity and astonishment in his eyes. At that moment, Su Ming sensed the Emperor of Abyss True World's will from the pearl. When it returned to him, he shuddered slightly, and his will erupted with a bang. The return of his wills and the feeling of having them back was something that Su Ming had not sensed for quite some time. At that moment, he even gained the feeling that he had when he was in harmonious Morus Alba's universe. It was the feeling that the strength of his will was so great that he could control the universe around him at will. The sky in the seventh layer of sky beyond the sky instantly became murky. The ground trembled, and the air around him seemed to be quivering. It began tumbling about violently. This scene caused all of the great sect elders to stand up. They saw Jiu Tai's shock and also sensed the terrifying presence that was rapidly increasing about Su Ming. There seemed to be a power that did not belong to ancient Zong on Su Ming, and it was waking up with a roar. This is the presence of a 9th-level Tao god. Once Jiu Tai's expression changed rapidly a few times, he did not say anything aloud. He just exclaimed in disbelief in his heart. He was the only person who had fought against the 3 great 9th-level Tao gods before and did not die, which was why his understanding towards 9th-level Tao gods was much greater than of other people. The other great sect elders in the land would not know the invisible presence, but Jiu Tai could clearly sense that it was the power of a 9th-level Tao god. This isn't Xianxia Luo's presence nor Emperor of Ancient Zong's presence, much less old monster Feng Lai's presence. This is the 4th presence of a 9th-level Tao god that has appeared for the first time in Ancient Zong. At that moment, a different light lit up in Jiu Tai's eyes. At that moment, Su Ming sensed true Sky Hill World's will in the pearl. When it fused with him and all 4 great wills returned to him, Su Ming opened his eyes, and his will erupted from him with a bang. It swept through the area and made the great sect elders' eyes shine brilliantly. It also caused Jiu Tai to be even more certain that he had not made a wrong judgment. Su Ming's wills gradually faded away. Once they returned to his body, the pearl in his hand became slightly duller. Su Ming did not return it, however. Since Jiu Tai had said that he could gift him with external objects, Su Ming flipped his right hand over and put the pearl into his storage bag. While his level of cultivation remained at Tao spirit realm and his appearance did not change, the current Su Ming seemed to have become a different man in the eyes of the great sect elders. The change in his temperament formed a presence that was born once a person's heart had become powerful, and was one Su Ming himself did not notice. Jiu Tai stared at Su Ming. Once his eyes became brighter, he suddenly laughed loudly. "Third Prince, you gave me a great, pleasant surprise. It's something I never expected. This surprise is completely worth me giving everything of mine to you." When Jiu Tai's laughter echoed in the air, Su Ming smiled faintly. "Please call me Su Ming. Su Ming. Su Ming. All right, Su Ming. I was originally worried about our chances of snatching the Fala, but now, we can change our plans a little. We of Seven Moons Sect will first prepare the event of you sounding your Tao spirit voice, and then, I will bring you to meet a senior. If this senior will acknowledge you, your chances of success in the competition over the Fala will become much greater. And before you snatch the Fala, I will make arrangements to search for the space whip. I will need you to work with us on this, though. If we manage to find the space whip, then with Seven Moons Sect's full strength, you will have 7/10 of a chance to obtain the Fala. Once you obtain the Fala and step into Tao Immortal Realm, you will rise to power in Ancient Zong." When Jiu Tai's laughter echoed in the air, all the great sect elders could sense the delight radiating from him. "Su Ming, you don't need to return to the 5th layer of sky beyond the sky. With the reversed spirit pearl, you can go to the 6th layer of sky beyond the sky to train. If we are quick, we will only need half a month, and if we are slow, we will need a full month to finish our preparations for you to sound your Tao spirit voice. Then, all of ancient Zong will know of your existence. As Jiu Tai laughed, Su Ming wrapped his fist in his palm and bowed to him, then looked at Xu Zhongfan, who was standing close by with delight on his face. Su Ming wrapped his fist in his palm and bowed to him as well. Xu Zhongfan's smile grew even wider. He nodded repeatedly, then, as if he had remembered something, he brought out a jade slip and handed it to Su Ming. My epiphanies when I sounded my Tao spirit voice are in this slip. Take it and try to understand them. Su Ming took the jade slip, then gazed at Xu Zhongfan for a while before shifting his gaze away and nodded at him. When he bowed at him again, he turned around and took a step into the air before disappearing without a trace. When he reappeared, he had already stepped into the 6th layer of sky beyond of sky through the reversed spirit pearl. There was not a single person there. Without the reversed spirit pearl, even Dao Han could not enter, so it's Su Ming's cave abode. He did not go to any other place. He went to the mountain belonging to the 3rd line in the 6th layer of sky beyond the sky and sat down in front of the house on the cliff. A brilliant sparkle appeared in his eyes. It was a look of confidence that he gained in the unfamiliar ancient Zong after he obtained the 4 great wills. The power of the wills was like Su Ming's time reversal art. They were both things that had never appeared in ancient Zong. It was something he could tell from the reactions of the great sect elders of 7 Moons sect. Only. Sect elder Jiu Tai seems to have noticed something. Su Ming pondered over it for a while. Jiu Tai might not have said anything, but he had to have understood some things. Even if that was the case, Su Ming would not continue thinking about the matter. Instead, he brought out the jade slip Xu Zhongfan had given him. Once he scanned it with his divine sense, his eyes fell shut. He became immersed in his meditation to stabilize his power of Tao spirit realm. He could sense that his cultivation base was not stable. After all, he had forcefully reached this realm after fusing with the 7 lives art and formed his Tao shadow, which was why Su Ming also had some form of understanding towards the sounding of the Tao spirit voice. Xu Zhongfang's jade slip had a lot of records regarding this, so Su Ming's understanding towards sounding the Tao spirit voice increased. In truth, the 1st and 2nd levels of the 9 levels of Tao divinity realm are there to form the Tao body. After the 3rd level, the Tao spirit is formed. After the 7th level, the spirit will turn into a paragon. When the 8th level is achieved, the Tao paragon will reach his peak and will be known as the Great Tao Paragon. If I want to stabilize my cultivation base of Tao spirit realm, I have to turn into a spirit and fuse with the world to become a spirit of the world. Only then will I be able to completely step into Tao spirit realm. This is a process of turning the Tao body into a Tao spirit. It will involve me sounding the Tao spirit voice. With my voice, I will verify my Tao and will fuse with the world. Su Ming closed his eyes. 1 is the beginning, 3 is greatness, 6 is power, and 9 is the peak. The sounding of Tao spirit voice can allow others to see a person's potential and affinity. Since ancient times, those who have reached Tao spirit realm sound from 1 to 6 voices. There are few who do it 7, and even fewer 8 times. 9 is extremely rare. All those who sounded 9 voices have already become great Tao paragons. I wonder how many voices I will be able to sound. Su Ming opened his eyes, and a dark glint showed up within them. Chapter 14:14. Tao Spirit Voice. With the jade slip in his hand, Su Ming closed his eyes again, then began stabilizing his power of Tao spirit realm in the 6th layer of sky beyond the sky while meditating and waiting for 7 Moons sect to make preparations for him to sound his Tao spirit voice. Su Ming had never been interested in ancient Zong's competition of the successors. Be it to become a successor or to kill, all of this was just a method for him to increase his level of cultivation and were part of his path leading to him possessing Xian Zong in the end. No matter who tried to block him, Su Ming would kill them. He would kill all the people who got in his way and crush all the obstructions. He wanted to stand above the sky and look down on the universe. That was why he agreed to Jiu Tai's plan to join the competition of the successors. But in Su Ming's heart, this was not a competition between successors. It was his cultivation path. It was the path to possess Xianxia. No matter how real the world was, his ninth summit was not in it, nor were his berserkers or the woman he had loved. Even if he saw some familiar faces among the people around him, Su Ming believed that what he saw did not belong to him. His home had always been in the ninth summit. His home was always in arid triad. That feeling became especially strong after the wills of the four great true worlds returned to him. It grew to the point that it made his future path clearer. It became his motivation to continue walking down his path. The rise and fall of those thoughts only appeared in the depths of Su Ming's heart. He had already learned not to show a single hint of his emotion on his face. Only when he closed his eyes would they burn with a madness from the culmination of everything in his life. Time passed, and in the blink of an eye, a month went by. On the morning after that, the sixth layer of sky beyond the sky looked as if it had started burning. It had gained a brilliant shade of red, and with an ancient tone, Gu Tai's voice resounded in the air. Su Ming, it is time. Sound your Tao spirit voice. Su Ming's eyes flew open. Not many changes could be seen on his face. Only the dark light shining in his eyes at that moment showed how strong his determination was, since the eyes are the windows to the soul. When Su Ming stood up, the dark light coming from his eyes looked like a sea of fire spilling out around him, forming a contrast with the fiery red in the sky. At the instant he turned into a long arc that charged upwards, the sky roared, and a huge vortex appeared out of nowhere. The moment Su Ming rushed out of it, he stood above the skies of Seven Moons Sect. Clouds tumbled about around him. The rising sun was in the sky, and when he cast his gaze over the land, the entire world was within his field of vision. Seven Moons Sect seemed to have become insignificantly smaller beneath him. Wind howled, blowing up Su Ming's long hair and making his robes flutter, but it did not blow away his cultivation base and his determination to make himself stronger. Sounding your Tao spirit voice. You might need to make it sound, but you do not need to strike it like you would do to a bell. Instead, you need to shout in your own voice, a voice that belongs to you in Tao spirit realm. Make it fuse with the world and the sky, and it will become a guide. Turn it into ripples. When you change the world, your Tao spirit will go through a metamorphosis and become a spirit by the end of you shout. Gu Tai's voice echoed in the air from every direction. It lingered around Su Ming like the voice of the world. You don't actually have to prepare anything to sound your Tao spirit voice, nor do you have to notify the other sects. In the past, when other people sounded their Tao spirit voices, they would only do so in their sects. There is a special forbidden area that can prevent Tao spirit voice from traveling outwards. But for you, this is not suitable. What we want is for all of ancient Zong to know that the third prince is in Seven Moons Sect. That is why we need you to sound your Tao spirit voice in the air. Over the past month, Seven Moons Sect has made complete preparations. We set up a large number of runes in the area, and all the sect elders have gone out to act as Dharma protectors for you. The 13 great sect elders will personally act as garrisons for you. We will not allow anyone or any sect to disturb you. What I want is for you to bring out all of your power. Don't hide even the slightest bit of it. Don't worry about Seven Moons Sect attacking you in the present or in the future. Don't worry. I have practiced cultivation for an unknown number of eons. With me being the sect master of one of the 7 sects of ancient Zong, my promise is also Seven Moons Sect's promise. I promise you that regardless of the present or the future, you will forever be a part of Seven Moons Sect. No matter where you go, no matter how great your achievements are in the future, you will be part of Seven Moons Sect. Similarly, even if you make other choices in the future, you must remember that there is a sect in ancient Zong called Seven Moons Sect. This is Seven Moons Sect. You will never forget it, because it is the Seven Moons Sect you will bring to power. And now, what I need is for you to rise to power in Seven Moons Sect. Shout in the Tao spirit voice that belongs to you. Let the whole world and the whole ancient Zong know you. Let no one not know who their ruler is. Su Ming, can do you it? There was excitement and eagerness in Gu Tai's voice. As his voice echoed in the air, Su Ming fell silent. He slowly brought his head up and looked at the sky. If the competition of successors is a part of my life, Even if there is a possibility that I am fake, will you and Seven Moons sect still retain your attitude? Su Ming asked softly. We have been quiet for far too long. Why should there be a problem for Seven Moons sect to fight against the whole world by your side? We will either live or die. What is there to be afraid of death? Jiu Tai's laughter echoed in the air. At the instant it shook the sky and earth. The most brilliant sparkle since Su Ming had come to ancient Zong appeared in his eyes. I can do it. When Su Ming's voice rang out in the air calmly, his expression was no longer one of calm. There was a blazing fighting spirit in his eyes. His life seemed to have been lit at that moment, and his excitement seemed to have become the most eye-catching thing in the sky at that moment. Dao spirit voice. Once Jiu Tai spoke, drum rolls appeared in a circular area of 1 million lees around Seven Moons sect. The loud thuds spread in every direction and rose into the sky, causing the ground to tremble. Hundreds of thousands of cultivators from Seven Moons sect roared at the same time amid the drum rolls. Dao spirit voice. Su Ming swung his arm and lifted his head. His power exploded from him at full force, without anything being held back. Then, he let out a long roar at the sky, one that notified ancient Zong of his presence. That long roar was the loudest and strongest sound Su Ming had let out once he had woken up in ancient Zong. It was a wave of madness and an outburst towards his past. It was the first voice that belonged truly to him, and let it out in Seven Moons sect. At the instant his voice appeared, the world rumbled. The clouds in the sky tumbled about as if there was a violent gust of wind blowing against them. Moments later, they were torn to pieces. 1,000 lees, 10,000 lees, 100,000 lees. Su Ming's voice spread out until it reached 1 million lees, 10 million lees, and even 100 million lees. Powerful ripples stirred up in the sky around Su Ming. They contorted as if they were about to turn into his face. The ground roared loudly while trembling. The mountains shivered in a chaotic manner. Lakes howled. All the cultivators within 100 million lees of Seven Moons sect felt their hearts tremble at that instant, no matter what they were doing. Their ears rang. They were shaken by Su Ming's first Dao spirit voice. This is the first voice. There's still the second and the third voice, Su Ming. Continue letting out your Dao spirit voice. Push it and make it spread further away. Fill up the 7 sects and 12 clans with your voice. Make it ring through all of ancient Zong. Send it to the palace. Let all the cultivators in the world hear your voice. As Jiu Tai's growl resounded through the air, Su Ming instantly felt his cultivation base boil. Even his soul, blood, and all his memories started boiling together with it. All of them began tumbling about violently, which resulted in his cultivation base erupting in full power. An indescribable feeling rose in Su Ming's heart at that moment. It was an urge calling out to him to roar the second time. It was just as Jiu Tai had said, Su Ming wanted the whole world to know. He wanted to rise to power. He wanted the whole world to bear witness. Because of that, the sparkle in his eyes burned with a powerful fighting spirit that he had not felt for a long time. At that moment, when Su Ming's first Dao spirit voice echoed in the sky 100 million lees around him, all the regions within this area seemed were filled with his presence. The world there seemed to have acknowledged his voice, and his cultivation base of Dao spirit realm became much more stabilized. Then, Su Ming lifted his head. As his cultivation base boiled, he let out his second Dao spirit voice. It was no longer a long roar, but a loud one that shook the world. When Su Ming's second Dao spirit voice appeared, not a single cloud could be seen 100 million lees around him. The ground trembled as if there were countless earth dragons tumbling about in it. His first Dao spirit voice still lingered in the air when his second voice spread out to cover the 100 million lees. Once the two voices fused, they created an indescribably vast power that shook the skies and spread violently through an even larger area with loud rumbles. 100 million lees. 200 million lees. Once the voices reached 300 million lees, they became the only sound within them. The merged voice contained Su Ming's indignation, madness, determination to meet all the people in harmonious Morris Alba again, and his past confusion towards the unfamiliar ancient Zong. All of those emotions seemed to have spilled out in that roar. He needed to let it out. The weather changed, and the ground looked like it was about to shatter. Thunder was forced away. During that moment, as Su Ming's voice echoed, the hearts of all the lives within the 300 million Lis trembled, and the source of it was their souls. With his Tao spirit voice, Su Ming replaced every single sound within the 300 million Lis in ancient Zong. The ripples in the sky contained his voice, and the rumbles on the ground contained his presence. If my voice can fill all of ancient Zong, then can it travel out of Xian Zong's body? A brilliant sparkle appeared in Su Ming's eyes, and he let out his third Tao spirit voice. Chapter 14:15. 3 is greatness. 1 is the beginning, 3 is greatness, 6 is power, and 9 is the peak. When Su Ming let out his third Tao spirit voice, he already reached greatness. As his voice echoed in the air, the madness in the third roar crashed into the second Tao spirit voice still echoing in the 300 million Lis. Once it fused with the lingering sounds of the two previous voices, it instantly swept out in every direction. The distance his voice covered kept on expanding. 300 million Lis, 400 million Lis, 500 million Lis. When the first three Tao spirit voices overlapped with each other and reached a terrifying 1,000 million Lis, the entire sky and earth in that area rumbled and roared. When Su Ming's voice spread out, it looked like it became the king of every region it passed through. Seven Moons sect was located to the west of ancient Zong. At that moment, Su Ming's third Tao spirit voice did not envelop the entire western region, but most of it had been affected. Besides Seven Moons sect, there was another sect and two clans located in the west of ancient Zong: Five Directions sect, Flying Feathers clan, and Sky River clan. They were equal to Seven Moons sect in terms of fame and were nearly on equal footing in terms of power. At the instant Su Ming's third Tao spirit voice enveloped their regions, the cultivators in the sect and two clans immediately felt it clearly. They snapped out of their meditation and opened their eyes during their morning training. Their expressions differed. The lower-leveled cultivators were mostly confused, not understanding what had happened. Only those who had practiced cultivation for years knew more, or more accurately speaking, those who had already reached Avacania realm or were already in Tao divinity realm knew what the roars that caused the world to rumble signified. When they cast their gazes upwards, they found the sky filled with ripples, and Su Ming's divine sense was contained in them. His face could be vaguely seen within the ripples. When the ground trembled, Su Ming's presence could be detected. All of that bore testimony to his Tao spirit voice. This is someone sounding his Tao spirit voice. He is using his voice to fuse with the world so that he can transform his Tao body into a Tao spirit. Judging by the direction, it should be Seven Moons sect. But all cultivators from ancient Zong's 7 sects and 12 clans always sound their Tao spirit voices in their respective sect or clan's forbidden grounds. They won't let others know about it, because Tao spirit voices are incredibly important and cannot be interrupted. Seven Moons sect actually allowed this cultivator to sound his Tao spirit voice like this? They're definitely planning something. Divine senses were sent among the cultivators, who had been shaken by what they heard. Su Ming's full cultivation base continuously spread out while he was above Seven Moons sect, and the distance he could cover had already reached its farthest point. With his cultivation base, he had already managed to sound 3 Tao spirit voices, but Su Ming's eyes sparkled at that moment. He could sense that with his current cultivation base, he could let out another Tao spirit voice. Since ancient times, most of those in Tao spirit realm can let out from 1 to 3 Tao spirit voices. Only a few can let out more than 3 roars, and only a handful can let out 6 roars. Even rarer are those who can let out 9 roars, but all those who had managed to do so and are yet to die have become great Tao paragons. Su Ming's eyes sparkled when the descriptions of Tao spirit voice from the Jade Slip Shuzhong fan had given him rose in his mind. He sucked in a deep breath and circulated his cultivation base to the maximum. As it continuously erupted from him, his third eye at the center of his brow opened. The 3 Tao bodies in that eye all shone with glittering light, their power activated to the limit. At that moment, Su Ming opened his mouth and let out his 4th Tao spirit voice. The 4th Tao spirit voice instantly covered 100 million Lis in every direction, then tumbled even further into the distance. Wherever it went, the world roared. The ripples in the sky and the tremors on the ground seemed to form an illusory face, and it swept through everything while the roar echoed in the air. It fused with the previous 3 Tao spirit voices and shook the sect and 2 clans in the western side of ancient Zong. As it continuously spread out, the entire western region was finally filled up with his voice. His roar was clearly heard by every living being in the west. But it was clearly still far from enough to shake all of ancient Zong, as what Jiu Tai intended. There were quite a number of people among the powerful warriors in Tao spirit realm of ancient Zong who had let out 4 Tao spirit voices. 4 voices could not cause any sort of shock. At most, they would make the ears of the cultivators in the western side ring. Su Ming was still far from being able to shock anyone. However, at that moment, Su Ming's cultivation base had already reached its limit. If he just relied on the power of his cultivation base alone, he would not be able to let out a 5th Tao spirit voice. After all, it was not a simple roar. It was him letting out a voice that could almost be said to be the voice of his life after fusing all his cultivation base with his soul, his life, and everything that made him who he was. And only that voice alone could shake the world. Only it could serve as a brand that would make the world remember him. When the world remembered his voice, the ripples would baptize him. The tremors on the ground would transform his Tao body. When it reached its peak and Su Ming retrieved everything back into himself, he would be able to truly reach Tao spirit realm. In truth, if he had retrieved his will and presence after he let out 4 Tao spirit voices, he would also step into Tao spirit realm, but his future if he settled for that would be limited. So it was not the path Su Ming wanted. To grow stronger and be able to open his eyes once he fully possessed Xianxia, he had to become much stronger. His goal was the 9th level Tao God. His goal was boundless Tao. While the 4 Tao spirit voices echoed in the air, a powerful determination appeared in Su Ming's eyes. He had already emptied his cultivation base, and there was the taste of blood in his mouth. His body had begun trembling amid the ripples in the western sky and the tremors on the ground. Aside from the difficulty of letting out the Tao spirit voices, he had to gather together everything in his life. When he forced it all out of his throat, it was the same as draining his body. He would recover his full strength once he retrieved everything back into himself, but until he did so, the drain would only become more severe as he continued letting out these Tao spirit voices. When the world changed, the ripples in the sky appeared and the ground trembled, the drain would become even stronger. That was why there were few cultivators who could sound more than 6 Tao spirit voices. My potential is normal. I knew this when I was in Dark Mountain. After all, even abyss builders have different potentials aside from their innate talents. So, with my potential, 4 roars are my limit. A cold sneer appeared at the corners of Su Ming's lips. No anguish could be seen within it, because since the destruction of Harmonious Morris Alba, he no longer felt any anguish. As he slaughtered people from Saint Defire and Dark Dawn during the later stages in Harmonious Morris Alba, he had already sunk into a state of madness. At that moment, his understanding of his own potential only brought a strong refusal to admit defeat to Su Ming's heart. I might only have this much potential, but I will let out more Tao spirit voices. Because, aside from my cultivation base, I still have my wills. Su Ming swung his arm, and his will of true morning Tao world erupted from his body with a bang. Once it appeared, the invisible power that was clearly different from what existed in ancient Zong instantly surrounded Su Ming's body, and his hair flew up. Su Ming lifted his head, and with his will, he let out his 5th Tao spirit voice. At the instant he let out that voice, the western side of ancient Zong trembled. Excitement appeared on the faces of cultivators in 7 Moons sect. They stared at Su Ming, remembering how he had cleared the Tao Divinity Shadow Dissension rune 40 years ago. At the same time, a rarely seen excitement appeared in Jiu Tai's eyes too. He watched Su Ming while feeling incredibly certain that he had not made the wrong call. That presence was the unique presence belonging to the 9th level Tao gods. When the 5th Tao spirit voice echoed in the air, it instantly filled the entire western region of ancient Zong as well as the sects and clans in it. At the moment they were shaken, the voice spread out even further. This time, Su Ming's Tao spirit voice spread to the central region of ancient Zong, as well as the north and south. If there was someone who could stand at a spot where he could overlook all of ancient Zong, they would definitely see a powerful wave of sound spreading out from the west with loud rumbles. In that arc was Su Ming's nearly invisible face. In the northern region, there was a golden stand, and Azura clan stood tall atop it. At that moment, they were affected by Su Ming's Tao spirit voice. The young man who was sitting on the huge, ferocious beast within the world in Azura clan opened his eyes at that moment. His eyes shone when he lifted his head. Su Ming's Tao spirit voice reached his ears in a faint murmur. The appearance of that voice immediately caused the young man's expression to change. At the same time, Di Qian, which had originally been buried in his right eye, manifested once more. "It's Su Ming. This is Su Ming."
Di Tian laughed.
His laughter held a wave of excitement and exhilaration, because Su Ming's appearance made him even more certain of his beliefs, that everything around him was fake. "Shut up." The second prince's expression was dark. He lifted his right hand and tapped his right eye. Immediately, the laughing Di Qian disappeared from his pupil, but the second prince's expression only became even darker. The second prince, however, was not the only one to notice what was happening. All of Azura clan heard Su Ming's Tao spirit voice. The echoing voice, the rippling sky, and the trembling ground made the expressions of almost everyone there change.